And I know I'm assuming we'll hear from the Spurs fans about officiating and technical fouls to Mitch Johnson when he was trying to get a review that the officials didn't see him. That'll be a conversation. But the final score said 127-114, and we can make a lot about Game 5, but said yesterday quite a lot. They need the forceful, assertive, dominant Victor Wembanyama, and they did not get that last night.
No.
What you did get was a dominant, forceful Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Isaiah Hartenstein outplayed Wemby last night.
Sure
I don't know
did.
if Wemby's getting tired, and we talked about way back in Game 1 and 2, the wear and tear. It's a long boxing match here, and as of yesterday, going into Game 5, we were just over halfway through it, and Wemby's getting pounded. I mean, they're putting Hartenstein, they're putting the other Jalen Williams on him and bodying him up and being very physical with him. Is that starting to take its toll? I don't know, but in the end, Victor Wembanyama was not his forceful self last night. He had 20 points, but only 4 of 15 shooting, as you heard Patrick say. He had a limited impact. He just didn't seem to impose his will on the game as we've seen him do in the 2 Spurs wins, in Game 1 and Game 4.
And how dominant he's been on the glass, only 6 boards.
Yeah, it just wasn't a great night. He struggled, and say what you want about officiating and free throws and flopping. Spurs aren't winning this series if you get that Victor Wembanyama. They're not. And Shai Gilgeous was great last night with 32 points. He had 9 assists. He went to the foul line 17 times and made 16. He shook off a slow start and really took over that game in the mid-range. I thought he was outstanding last night. I think you saw the MVP in full force, which, Victor Wembanyama is going to win a lot of MVPs, and he's played like one in the Spurs wins in this series, but he did not play like an MVP last night.
Yeah, credit to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, he found a way to impact the game heavily. He was passing the ball well after, a really slow start. He never really could find the jump shot at any point during the game, but he was able to get to the foul line, and after he has his left hand bandaged up a little bit, and you could tell early in that game. His handle was just a disaster. How many times did he get poked in the first quarter by Stephon Castle and some of those other Spurs wings? But he settled in, was able to make a few passes. He had that one, really that late, when he got 2 out on him, he slung it into Isaiah Hartenstein, who was able to finish. That's what it's all about. If you can't hit the shot, you still have to find a way to impact the game, and Shai did that.
He did
very well.
Well, in the first quarter was even, as you said. It was SGA got off to a slow start, but 29-27 at the end of the first 12 minutes. But the second quarter is where it split, because the Thunder scored 40 points in the second quarter. They outscored the Spurs 40-31.
That bench mob, one more time.
The bench mob. Alex Caruso was great. That guy, when's he going to slow down? The former Aggie, he was outstanding. I guess the Aggies would tell you there's no such thing, Jack, as a former Aggie. We're always Aggies.
That's right.
The
Former
Aggie,
students.
The Aggie, Alex Caruso, 22 points off the bench, got red hot. He is such a driver of them. Jared McCain, they put Jared McCain. Remember, they acquired Jared McCain, the former Duke star, from Philadelphia for picks back at the trade deadline. This guy has become a godsend with the injuries they have. If Sam Presti doesn't pull off that trade, that guy was great last night with 20 points. They put him in the starting lineup, but he's still part of that bench brigade. And this goes back to the Wemby point of how it switched in the second quarter and into the third. If Chet Holmgren ends up with 16 points and 11 rebounds, almost neutralizing Wemby, Spurs aren't winning. Spurs are not winning.
Finally got our Chet appearance.
Chet played well, and he and Isaiah Hartenstein combined to score, 28 points and grab almost 25 rebounds, whatever it was, 26 rebounds. Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein outplayed Wemby. And if you're going to get that SGA in that situation, you're not winning the game. So after only scoring 82 points in the Game 4 loss Sunday night, they had 69 by the half. They were only 13 points shy of their entire point total in Game 4 by halftime of this game, which tells you where the Spurs were on defense and where the force with which the Thunder were playing. And it's credit to the Thunder, because then they came out, in addition to 40 second quarter points and a lead at the half, 69-58, they came out and went on a 9-0 run to start the third quarter. Like, it wasn't, at the end of the third quarter, it was, Spurs outscored the Thunder 33-32. But you saw it, Jack. They came out of half, and it was a 9-10-0 run to start it, and that thing ballooned to 20 points. And, that's you're not going to win. We talked about last night's game being the most pivotal game of the NBA season, because in a 2-2 series in Game 5, the winner goes on to win the series 83% of the time. Well, the Thunder now have 2 chances to win one game to get back to the NBA Finals, and that's how important last night's game was. And you got a great SGA, you didn't get a great Wemby.
Yeah, and credit to the Spurs even in that third quarter for getting it back down to a reasonable game into the fourth. But they just couldn't quite hang last night. And credit to the Thunder, credit to all the role players. Like I said, Chet finally found a way to sort of dominate the non-Wemby minutes. He also got off to a really good start when Shea couldn't hit anything. The bench is just so, incredibly crucial. Even though they are banged up and down 2 guys that are often at the starting lineup for them, they still have dudes that are coming off the bench that just the Spurs can't hang with. They just don't have as many good players. It feels like, Kenrich Williams didn't play till Game 4, the former TCU star, and now he comes in and is hitting big shots in this series. So credit to Mark Daigneault. I thought he did a fantastic job keeping Wemby out of position. Keeping him on the perimeter, not letting him get the ball and into the paint, and finding a way to, make it easier on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the offensive end. So I think this has been a fascinating coaching matchup.
Sure.
What these 2 guys have done, and it seemed like San Antonio had finally figured out something that really worked in Game 4, and then in Game 5, whether it was the whistle, which I depending on who you ask on Twitter, was either a fine or the most egregious thing you've ever seen. I think it helped OKC really for the first time in the series last night. I thought they had decidedly had the ref advantage in this one, but that's what happens in a playoff series at home. And I think that, we had that situation at the end of the third. I thought the refs kind of gave the Spurs a few calls to rectify it a little bit on that Lou Dort block. It goes back and forth, but I thought it was a great game.
It was a fun game, and but obviously, you said it. The Spurs got the referee advantage in Game 4, when they held them to 82 points, but they got to mug SGA pretty much. They were all over them. And
before last night, they were like plus 25 in the free throw margin for the series.
Right,
and it was only 6 last night.
But it's SGA is the straw, and he went to the line 17 times, and so they were a little more whistle friendly for him. And so there was the moment in the third quarter, a technical foul for Mitch Johnson, who's only gotten 2 before last night all year. There was a clear, we want to challenge that because the ball went off of Chet Holmgren's foot. It was awarded to the Thunder, and the officials didn't see him. Here's Mitch Johnson after the game. I give him credit. He doesn't usually bellyache about things. Here's Mitch Johnson, needed a timeout. Because he got the technical foul. Here it was.
And just out of curiosity, the officials give you any kind of explanation for why you weren't able to get that challenge in that you were looking for?
They just said they didn't see me.
Okay, they didn't see me. It was a clear foul, or a clear missed call, because it did go clearly off of Chet Holmgren's foot, and they got the ball, so you could understand why Mitch Johnson was frustrated. As for the free throw disparity, Mitch Johnson was asked that question after the game as well.
OKC and Shea were able to generate many free throws compared to Game 4. What was the reason for you? Do you think it was the poor decisions you were talking about in terms of like discipline and defense?
Yeah, in the second quarter there, for sure, we had some times where, fouls or not, we need to be more aware of when we're in the bonus. And so, they got some free throws where they weren't in an advantage at that moment, or we weren't in a bad spot or out of position. And so you just got to understand, especially if you're on the perimeter and there's a lot of space around, the overly physical stuff. If you give the ref the opportunity to call it, and now someone gets free throws and didn't really have to work to get to that or get us in a spot where we were at a disadvantage, that's where numbers can get big for giving up points in a quarter.
Yeah, that's where it got to 40, and that parade to the foul line. They got the bonus early in the quarter, which means they go to the foul line. But there was one where Champagny pushed the guy in the back. The play was like over. They're called free throws. And in this game, in this series that I think is probably going 7 games, I do think the Spurs can get Game 6, but then you got to go back to OKC for a Game 7. And Wemby feels like he's losing steam here. I think the home crowd will revitalize him, but can he keep it up for 2 more games? That's where the advantage, Thunder comes in. But they're free throws in this series where transition points. Because again, they're both so good on defense. They're both so good in the half court. And so if you give them transition buckets, those are free points. And then if you give them free throws where they get to the bonus, and without any defense whatsoever, you send a guy to the foul line and he knocks down a couple of free throws, those are free throws. Those are free points that separate a game. That these two teams are very, very close, as we've seen. They're probably going to 7 games. And that's I give Mitch Johnson credit for not, crying about it, just saying, look, we lost our cool there a little bit and got too physical, didn't read the room well about how the game was being officiated, and gave them a bunch of free points.
Sure.
Can't do it.
Yeah, I think it was a healthy mix of, that was a lighter whistle than we have seen throughout the playoffs. That was a kind of a regular season type of whistle, I thought. Not saying they weren't fouls, but usually you can get away with a little bit more in the postseason. And Spurs carelessness. We saw Stephon Castle foul Shea on an inbound, on the other end of the court, and they were in the bonus, so he got free throws, and he got pushed. Should they have called it? That's one thing, but he got pushed. That's 2 free throws. You can't give him that advantage. And, I mean, you go look to it. The Thunder shot 38 free throws. The Spurs shot 32. And that number was closer until the Mason Plumlee and Bismack Biyombo came in at the very end and started shoving dudes. Like it was pretty even throughout the game.
It was. And again, I'm not going to double back on what I said yesterday. If the Spurs get the forceful, really great Wemby, they'll probably win the game. If they don't, you won't. And they didn't.
Barely out there.
He had no impact on the game.
8 feet tall, and you could barely tell.
And huge, whether he's getting tired, whatever. And obviously, you got the great performances from Hartenstein and Chet on the other side. That's what a 7-game series is all about. It's going to go back and forth. I think we're going 7. I'm going to go ahead tomorrow night and pick the Spurs to win Game 6 back in San Antonio. But can they win a Game 7 will become the question. And the whole world of NBA world will tune into that. Because, who, as a fan, as a consumer, all you can ask for is a great series. And I think we're getting it. I think we're getting 7 between these two. And meanwhile, back in New York City, the Knicks are just smiling ear to ear because they're going to get a worn-out team, or at least a very tired and banged-up team, whoever they get. And right now, based on data, percentages, history, it would tell you it's going to be the Thunder to get 1 game out of 2 here. And the Spurs, put this in your Spurs cap, the Thunder don't win 2 in a row, don't lose 2 games in a row very often.
Mm-hmm.
If ever.
Neither did the Spurs.
Yes, well,
they did in this series, but I don't think they've lost 3 in a row all year.
Well, but guess what? If the Thunder don't, after winning last night, if they don't lose 2 in a row, because the Thunder took 2 games in a row in this series, they took 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
And so if you can't beat them twice in a row, which rarely happens to this team, your season's going to be over. But they're fighting for it. They need Wemby to be great.
Yeah, and to the Spurs, I agree with you. I think it's going 7. I would pick the Spurs in Game 6, but you got to be careful because if the Thunder come out hot in Game 6, because right now I think the Spurs, I think OKC has a distinct emotional advantage over Oklahoma City right now. Stephon Castle in the postgame was complaining about the officiating. Victor Wembanyama wouldn't even talk to the media.
Yeah,
he looked shaken up. Then you had Mason Plumlee and Biyombo, like I just said, coming in, elbowing dudes in the back, like in garbage time. It's like you have to
keep your cool.
Buckle this down and keep it cool, because what happens if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't start slow again? What if he comes out and hits a couple threes? What if Chet makes some open shots? What if Jared McCain keeps it hot? And all of a sudden you're down, 14-4 in a Game 6. Or can you get up for that emotionally? Because the Thunder, if they're up, then guess what? Here comes Cason Wallace, and here comes Alex Caruso. So you really got to keep it tight. Now, that's up to Mitch Johnson here as we go into Game 6, because right now OKC's feeling pretty great. You can tell San Antonio's rattled.
Yeah.
And of course they are. They're all 20 years old.
Well, and I'll mention this. You just can mention Cason Wallace in that bench. Cason Wallace plus 29 on the plus minus on strong defense. And he
all
hit
defensive
big shots.
Team this year.
Plus 29 if you're doing plus minus. And Victor Wembanyama, to the point to wrap it up here in our opening tip, was in negatives. He was -8 plus minus, which you're not, whatever you say, Spurs fans, you're not winning if Wemby is -8 plus minus.
And they had that clip of him barking on the bench to his teammates, but if you don't back it up when you come back out on the floor and then you duck the media after the game, maybe he has something going on. He looks tired. Body language was awful all night, but he's got to come back and lead this team. He's got to be that dude.
Yep, that's there in the 2 that they won. He's been that guy,
big monk guy that he likes to be.
Well, he was. If he's negative plus minus, they won't win Game 6. I can tell you that either.
No.
All right, we'll come back. And plus minus meaning when you're on the floor, you can't get outscored with Wemby by 8 points while he's on the floor. That's not going to work.